Welcome to this explainer. So, you've just become a new pool owner, or maybe you're gearing up to build one. Either way, congratulations. But let's be real, looking at raw engineering schematics can feel, well, incredibly intimidating. It's kind of like trying to read a foreign language. Today, though, we're taking those dense, technical source documents and transforming them into a super simple, step-by-step process guide. We're going to demystify all that complex engineering and translate it into a clear, actionable roadmap you can actually use. To do that, we'll follow a really logical 5-step path laid out in the source material. First, choosing your pool design. Second, calculating water and flow. Third, sizing your core equipment. Fourth, laying out the plumbing infrastructure. And finally, step 5, mastering daily pool maintenance. All right, let's just jump right in. Starting off with section 1, choosing your pool design. Your very first move here is establishing the physical parameters, which basically means figuring out exactly what kind of pool you're dealing with. The source material breaks this down into 3 main design types. At the top of the list, you've got the skimmer pool. This is your classic, most common, and honestly most cost-effective option, where built-in skimmers just scoop away the surface water. But hey, if you're going for that high-end resort vibe, you might be leaning toward an overflow or infinity pool. The absolutely crucial thing to remember with these visually stunning designs is that they require a continuous water level. That fundamentally changes your whole setup, because now you need a gutter system or a vanishing edge, and importantly, a totally separate external balancing tank to catch all that overflow. Moving right along to section 2, calculating water and flow. We've got the physical shape down, so let's get into the math. So we know the structural design. Next up is understanding our physical volume and figuring out exactly how fast that water needs to move to stay clean. And look, don't let any high school geometry flashbacks scare you off here. The source simplifies this into a really straightforward 3-step sequence. Step 1, find your surface area. Just multiply length by width. Step 2, find your average depth by adding the shallow and deep ends together and dividing by 2. And step 3, just multiply that area by your average depth to get your total volume in cubic meters. Quick pro tip to keep in your back pocket, 1 cubic meter equals exactly 1,000 liters of water. Super easy to remember. Now that you have the volume, you need to know how hard your system actually has to work. The blueprints introduce a pretty fascinating metric for this, called the turnover rate. Basically, this number tells you how many times your entire total water volume needs to be completely filtered every single 24 hours. For a standard private residential pool, you're only looking at a turnover rate of 2 to 4 times a day. Not too bad, right? But, and this is a big but, if you're dealing with a shallow kids pool or a high-temperature spa, that rate skyrockets. We're talking 6 to 8 or even 8 to 12 turnovers every 24 hours just to maintain safe, hygienic water quality. All right, section 3, sizing your core equipment. It is time to step into the engine room. Once we've calculated our flow rate, which, by the way, is just multiplying your volume by that turnover rate we just talked about, we can confidently start sizing up our core components. The engineering docs are super clear on how to size your pump, which is absolutely the heart of your entire pool system. You really can't just guess here. You have to calculate what's called the total dynamic head, or TDH. Basically, you're factoring in the static height the water has to be lifted, the friction loss from the length of all those pipes, and minor losses from things like valves and bends. Oh, and here's a fantastic pro tip we pulled straight from the text. Always add a 10 to 20% safety margin to this calculation before you actually buy your pump. And right next to the heart, you've got the kidneys, your filter system. You size this vital piece of equipment by taking that required flow rate we just calculated and dividing it by the allowable surface loading rate, or SLR, for your specific filter media. I actually found it really fascinating that different materials filter at totally different speeds. For example, sand filters operate between 20 and 30 cubic meters per hour, whereas cartridge filters can handle a slightly higher loading rate. Once you do that quick bit of division, you literally just go and select the next standard size filter area available on the market. Simple as that. Now, remember when we were talking about pool types back in step 1? If you decided to go with an overflow or infinity design, you absolutely must include a balancing tank right here in the engine room. The source material lays out a very strict engineering guideline for this. Your tank has to be sized to hold 10 to 13% of your total pool water volume. This gives you that essential liquid buffer so that when a bunch of people jump in the pool at once, the displaced water over those beautiful vanishing edges has somewhere to go. Which brings us to section 4, laying the plumbing infrastructure. We're moving from the engine room out to the arteries of the pool.
Now, the water flowing through those plumbing arteries can't move too fast, or you seriously risk damaging the equipment and creating major safety hazards. The safety standards are very clear. You must adhere to strict maximum velocity limits. Suction lines are strictly capped at 1.5 meters per second, while discharge lines can flow just a bit faster at 2.0 meters per second. Gravity and balance lines, those are restricted to a much slower 1.0 to 1.2 meters per second. Sticking to these precise engineering limits ensures everything runs quietly, efficiently, and above all else, safely for anyone swimming in the pool.
Let's talk about how that water actually enters and exits the pool safely. When it comes to your main drains, the safety standard here is absolutely critical. You need at least 2 evenly distributed main drains in any pool. They can be spaced a maximum of 15 meters apart, and this is huge, they must have anti-vortex covers to prevent any dangerous entrapment. As for the piping itself, the source specifies using robust, corrosion-resistant UPVC pipes for your pressurized suction and discharge lines. But for any lines that are safely buried underground, you'll want to utilize flexible, highly durable HDP pipes. Now, if you're building a standard skimmer pool, the golden engineering rule of thumb is to install 1 skimmer for every 25 meters of your pool's perimeter. You also need to make sure the maximum spacing between any 2 skimmers is no more than 15 meters. And crucially, they have to feature an equalizer line. This properly balances the water level and protects your pump from ever accidentally running dry, which would be a costly mistake. Okay, so here is a crucial takeaway for facility managers and home builders alike. The number 900, that's 900 millimeters, which is the absolute minimum door width required for your equipment room. I mean, you need to actually be able to get your pumps and filters in and out for maintenance, right? On top of that, the source dictates that this room strictly requires a minimum of 6 air changes per hour for proper ventilation. You've got to keep that space clean, dry, and safe for all that sensitive electronic equipment. And finally, Section 5, Mastering Daily Pool Maintenance. This is where we hand the keys over to you. Let's talk about the daily drive, meaning how to keep your pool pristine, balanced, and safe for everyone to enjoy. What's really fascinating about these maintenance guidelines is learning that perfect water chemistry isn't about guesswork. It's a very precise science. You are strictly maintaining exact parameters to protect both the bathers and your expensive equipment. Free chlorine must stay between 1.0 and 3.0 parts per million to disinfect properly. Your pH level needs to be tightly controlled, right between 7.2 and 7.6. And your total alkalinity, that should sit between 80 and 120 parts per million to act as a proper buffer for your pH.
But hey, chemical balance just isn't enough to maintain that crystal clear water clarity. You have to physically remove the debris too. The guidelines mandate using a dedicated vacuum suction port, perfectly sized at 1.5 to 2 inches, and it needs to be isolated with the ball valve. Now listen to this. Here's a massive safety warning that really stood out in the source material. You should absolutely never use your main drain for vacuuming. No way. Always use a dedicated line with a proper vacuum breaker or regulator valve to safely clean your pool floor.
Ultimately, your ongoing responsibilities as a new pool owner basically boil down to this comprehensive maintenance checklist. It's just a simple, repeatable process. You're checking the water balance, you're cleaning out those skimmer baskets every single day, and you're keeping a close eye on your filter pressure. When you see a pressure rise of 7 to 10 psi, boom, you know exactly when it's time to backwash those filters. Combine all of this with regular visual inspections of your pumps, valves, and pool walls, plus logging your readings, and you are actively guaranteeing great water quality while extending the lifespan of your whole setup. So having broken down all those dense engineering formulas and blueprints into a simple, manageable 5-step guide, you now have a direct roadmap from the initial concept all the way to daily care. You understand the math, the mechanics, and the maintenance derived straight from the source blueprints. The only thing left to ask is this. Having seen just how structured and logical this process can actually be, are you ready to take the plunge and confidently manage your own pool?